Join us every Wednesday for InFocus, a weekly talk show produced by the Saint Kitts and Nevis Information Service, where we provide exclusives with key persons within the government and discuss pertinent, relevant, and interesting matters that affect us all. Tune in every Wednesday, live on ZIZ Radio and streamed live on Facebook at SKNIS Media and ZIZ Online. InFocus, your government, your business.
I'm Ian Richards, welcoming you to InFocus, a weekly program that takes a closer look at what's happening within and across the government of Saint Kitts and Nevis, your government. Today, we take an in-depth look at the evolving landscape of tourism in Saint Kitts and Nevis, an industry that continues to power economic growth, drive investment, and position our federation on the global scale. From Saint Kitts and Nevis' new homeport arrangement with P&O Cruises under the Carnival Corporation, to regional collaboration through the OECS Council of Ministers, of course that will be in tourism, and then there's marketing, innovation, and industry performance trends. We'll explore how strategy, sustainability, and partnerships are positioning the Federation for continued growth. With us today are the Honourable Minister of Tourism, Marsha Henderson, and Chief Executive Officer of the Saint Kitts Tourism Authority, Kelly Fontenelle. Stay with us for InFocus as we venture deeper into the strategies and initiatives aimed at positioning Saint Kitts and Nevis for the future of tourism.
If you haven't done it as yet, please do it today. Subscribe to our YouTube page at SKNIS Media for regular updates, live coverage, and even more information on your government. While you're at it, like, share, and interact with our Facebook and Instagram pages at SKNIS Media and SKNIS Info.
Welcome back to InFocus, and allow me now to introduce back to InFocus, so let's say welcome back, the Minister responsible for Tourism, Honourable Marsha Henderson. Minister, it's always good to have you.
Always a pleasure being here, actually, and always good conversation here.
Yes, and I'll introduce for the first time on our program, Kelly Fontenelle, the CEO of the Saint Kitts Tourism Authority. Welcome, Ms. Fontenelle.
Thank you for the invite. Happy to be here.
All right. So we want to start off a bit of clearing up something that some persons still may not be aware of, which is the differences between the Saint Kitts Tourism Authority and the Ministry of Tourism. Tell us a bit about the synergies and the differences there.
Right, so for us in the ministry, we have several agencies actually on the tourism, but the Saint Kitts Tourism Authority is one of the agencies, and that agency is responsible for the promotion and marketing of the product. Whereas the ministry focuses on the creation of the product. So we work with our stakeholders and our partners to create the product. We determine what we want our services to be and what we want to sell, what we want to export. So in the ministry, we create a product that we sell in our source markets. And we have several source markets, the biggest being the US for now. Of course, we are looking at pivoting and other source markets. So once we create that product and we determine what it looks like, then it's handed over to the SKTA, who's responsible for selling it, promoting and marketing the product in our source markets. Under the legislation, the SKTA also has responsibility for cruise and airlift.
Correct.
And hotels.
Not, well, it's part of the product. So
right, but they
investments
in working in terms of working with hoteliers, but the legislation is specific to cruise and airlift. So that's their mandate. In the ministry, we do the research, we collect data, we create the product, we work with stakeholders, we look at the trends, we determine this is what we want to be offering now. We work with tours, taxi operators, civil aviation, which forms part of the ministry, which is the regulatory body for airspace. We also have maritime, which is the regulatory body for the cruise and other cargo. And so essentially that is the distinct difference. We can discuss a lot more, but in a summary, it's the creation of the product, the exporting of the product, marketing of the product. So SKTA is really the marketing arm, and the ministry is really where policy is created and driven.
But I would imagine, Ms. Fontenelle, that there are occasions where the work of the SKTA, the feedback that it gets from stakeholders, would influence the policy that the ministry would set and create?
Most definitely, because at the end of the day, we work with our stakeholders, and what works best for them, and the destination comes back to the ministry, and the ministry works that way. So we need our stakeholders to let us know what's going on, what can change, and then the Ministry of Tourism would work on the policy changes to make that happen. So we work hand in hand.
Right, and even in the SKTA, there is a product development unit. So they also work with developing the product. So we create it, and the SKTA also has an aspect. They have a product development team, and they inspect the product to make sure that, and regulate to make sure the product is what it is supposed to be. So there's an overlapping.
So it's like policing, more like policing the product to make sure it stays how it's supposed to be.
Make sure the taxi operators are in uniform, the buses are up to standards, they inspect sites to make sure that restaurants and bars, they're on the beaches, making sure Alarab vendors and private petting vendors are compliant. So there is some overlapping, and they call that department product development, but we work together. But the creation of the product itself, in terms of how it looks, comes from within the ministry.
Okay, so Minister, let's jump a bit right into some exciting news that you would have shared last year, and it relates to Homeporting.
Yes.
As I mentioned at the top, there is a relationship that Saint Kitts and Nevis has with P&O Cruises, and of course P&O falls under the Carnival Corporation brand.
Right.
Tell us a bit about that relationship and where we're at currently.
Right, so interestingly, we had a meeting this morning with the president of P&O Cruises on board Avier. The vessel, I don't know if you realize, it overnighted. So we met with the president just to finalize our plans and give an update as to where we are.
And just to be clear for persons who would have seen it last night, it was this morning, it's on the, coming down into town, it's on the left-hand side of the pier.
So that's Pier 1.
Yes,
we call
Pier
that Pier 1, yes.
Right.
So it's on Pier 1, and it's on the left-hand side of Pier 1, correct. It should have left already. I think they were scheduled to leave around midday.
Midday.
So, but Homeporting is an opportunity for us in tourism where we diversify the products. So what we did with cruise tourism, we just, we accepted ships, they berthed at our ports, and we basically have the visitors sample our product. Now we're diversifying our offerings and finding other ways of generating revenue for the tourism sector, where cruise lines can now, particularly P&O, and of course we're looking at expanding outside of P&O Cruises. They can actually stay and turn around.
Correct.
At our ports.
Correct. So P&O currently, well, two types. There's the chartered, which is what P&O currently would start in November 2027, and we are in talks to start what we call commercial, which is the commercial. They fly in, take the cruise, and go on.
Right.
Okay. So what opportunities does this represent for Saint Kitts and Nevis?
Countless, tons of opportunities.
But before we delve into them, and I'm sure Kelly will say, we are actually in the process of having a meeting organized, not just with stakeholders, but with the general public, so that persons can be aware of the possible opportunities that come out of Homeporting, so we can start our people can start positioning themselves, because ultimately we want our people to be the beneficiaries. Just as tourism, we feel tourism, the wealth of tourism should remain with our people, within our communities. We want to make sure that that applies with Homeporting, and so we're going to be, I know they're organizing from the SKTA meetings along with the ministry, just to sensitize the public. But the CEO would talk about the opportunities as well.
Because basically the Homeporting, St. Kitts will be a hub for that ship, like a hub for an airline. So procurement, provisions, sustainable, the ship arrives here and they need everything to start the journey.
Yes.
So they basically would need everything from the destination. So whatever we can provide. So it has lots of opportunities for people to create, to create not just jobs, but to create sustainability. So you could literally start a company from what P&O would need. Example would be, I know we have one laundry company on the destination laundromat.
We have more than one.
So not a lot, but you know, I use one all the time. So even that, people want to come and do the laundry, you know, stuff like that. Groceries, procurement of all of the provisions, because they would have, starting here, they would need all of the provisions they would need for that whole week of, not the whole week, but to start the cruise. And even transportation. I mean, there's just lots and lots of opportunities for Homeporting. I don't want to get too deeply into it because we have to meet. Yes.
But we had a meeting, I think, 2 Fridays ago with the P&O team on linkages, for example, and how the sectors overlap. For example, with agriculture. On one turn, they require about 40,000 eggs. You know, if we give them 40,000 eggs, we're going to have them to us. We're going to them for ourselves.
Right.
So that creates an opportunity for, is that a livestock farmer or livestock farmer, right? And it creates, that's just eggs. Has nothing else to do with, as Kelly said, all the things that they require before they turn around. And so we're going to be meeting, when we start the Homeporting, of course, we're not going to be in a position to provide all of the things they need. But as Kelly, the CEO, has said, it's positioning us to make our people, you know, sustainable in terms of their operations. So that's just eggs. When I spoke to the Minister for Agriculture, of course, you know, it's doable, but we have to be strategic. We have to start planning, and that's every week. That has nothing to do with supplying the supermarkets.
Just the cruise.
That's just the cruise line. So they're going to start, of course, with containers by flying them in and stocking their ships. But that puts us in a position to provide those services and the goods. I just spoke about goods. That has nothing. Kelly spoke about the services that comes with it. And when we have our stakeholder meetings and our sensitization meetings, we want the general public to keep your ears to the ground, make sure you're in attendance so that you can position yourself to benefit from this. And not just Homeporting, but there's yachting. The Prime Minister has been talking a lot about it. It's the same thing. And we've seen an uptick in demand for the services already. So we just need to position ourselves. And
the Prime Minister mentioned that there's possibility of the yachting sector. It could even surpass the cruise sector in terms of subversing of the numbers.
Absolutely. And the spend is more.
The spend is definitely more.
The spend on yachting is way more than the spend. And currently, based on our last assessment, the spend is...
For cruise was 145
US per passenger.
Per passenger. Average, yes.
And for yachts?
Well, we're just starting.
Okay.
So we don't have the data as yet because we're just venturing into yachting. So there are tons of opportunities.
And the yachting is a business that we have to look at closely because, again, so many opportunities for young people to start companies that, you know, serves the yachting business. It's a lot.
Right,
and certainly we would help at SKNS in terms of getting the information out there in terms of when these meetings are going to be, because just off the top of my head I could think about persons who could offer services in terms of moving luggages, or even transporting. If a farmer, they may not have the capacity or the time to go and deliver eggs or whatever provisions, so you can hire someone to do that.
Right, and I've made it clear to our partners that yes, in the process, we want to make sure that we have reliable, competent service providers. But as the minister, as a politician, the ultimate objective is to make sure that our people benefit, otherwise it doesn't make sense for us to be doing this. So it can't be one person, and I hope I'm being heard. I don't even mind being quoted. It can't be one person or one company who stands to benefit from it. And I will continue to make sure that we advocate to ensure that that doesn't happen.
So when does Homeporting begin?
November 6, 2027 will be the first ship.
Okay. And so What needs to be done in order to prepare for that? Of course, you just mentioned in terms of the services, sensitizing the persons to the public, but what about the infrastructure itself?
Right, so leading on the infrastructure is SCASPA, that's the St. Christopher Area Support Authority, and UDC, the Urban Development Corporation. It's a joint project, and they've been meeting for a while. It was on embargo, so we only announced recently, but even before that, they've been meeting. So the space is there already. It's going to be on the eastern side of the terminal is going to be constructed on the eastern side of Port Zante. Initially, it was going to be on the western side, but they pivoted to the eastern side. Plans have been approved, not by the building board as yet, but they are on their way to being approved by the building board, approved by both agencies and P&O, of course, and now feasibility studies and all those things are going to be done, environmental impact assessments, as is required for any tourism project based on our regional tourism sustainable plan from the OECS as well. So plans are underway in terms of the infrastructure. Both agencies are working to make sure that we can deliver the project within the timeline.
Going back to something you said earlier with regards to the eggs, for using an example, 40,000 eggs, we certainly are not capable of providing it at that time, because of course there's local consumption. How do you respond to persons who say that this home porting arrangement may cause a drain on resources, say water or energy? What's your message?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We, instead of seeing it as a threat, we should look at it as an opportunity. And I don't think it provides a drain on our resources at all. We have the capabilities, and where we can't, then they have indicated that they're prepared to import. But we have our own objectives in terms of reducing the import bill, making ourselves sustainable, or making sure that there's overlap with the industry, agriculture and tourism, the different sectors. So we certainly think it's doable. It's doable, and where we can't, we will improvise and make sure that, you know, our partners at P&O can bring the stuff in and have them transported to the cruise ships without any real pressure.
And that will be, of course, while local capacity increases.
Right.
Because, of course, they will continue to rise to meet the demand once they take advantage of those opportunities that you mentioned.
Right. And outside of doing it locally, Ian, we've discussed in our recent OECS meetings collaboration within the region. So sometimes we just see, oh, we can't do it here in Saint Kitts, but our brothers and sisters in Dominica might be able to send us all the tomatoes we need. Sabre might be able to send us all the chicken we need. And we need to be collaborating. That is the only way we can survive, not just individually, but regionally. So we have also looked at that. That was one of the things we discussed in our last meeting as the incoming chair. That is one of the objectives we want to accomplish as well. So where we are limited as an island, we may not be limited as a region at all.
And of course, with imports, there are fees that the government will collect as well, so tax duties as well. So that's a win-win for everyone as well too. Okay, Ms. Fontenelle, can you tell us about this arrangement with Homeporting? Where does it position Saint Kitts and Nevis within the cruise market?
Well, I can't say it puts number one, but it positions us in an area where we not just the day cruisers. It opens more opportunities for us. So other cruise lines could see Saint Kitts as a destination where they want to be a hub as well. So this is just one cruise line. So this one cruise line so far, it allows other cruise lines to come and say, okay, this could be a destination for Homeporting. Right. So it basically opens up more opportunities for the destination.
And is the Homeport arrangement, is there a fixed duration? Like, is it for a year, or 6 months, or indefinite? What's the arrangement, or is that still being worked on?
There's no period at all. It's just an arrangement that continues to work for us. It's not, and of course our partners at P&O. There is no timeline on it in terms of duration of the project. But certainly, as we discussed, there's scope for expanding on the existing arrangement, and it's not the home porting, the terminal and all the things, infrastructure we're putting in place isn't specific to P&O, as Kelly says.
Yeah.
It's for any other cruise line who would wish to home port.
And cruising, especially cruising, they plan way ahead. You can get an itinerary for 2020, like P&O for Saint Kitts 2027. The itinerary is already out.
Tickets are being sold.
Tickets are being sold. So cruising, they plan way ahead. So we, as a destination, have to prepare for what's going to be ahead of us, because once you prepare, more opportunities come for you.
Right.
So I, as a local, I can jump on my computer, go on their website and book a cruise right now to leave from St. Kitts.
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't have to fly to Florida,
Right,
Puerto Rico.
Right, yes.
So that's a discussion we had recently, because traditionally you would have to fly to wherever the cruise is starting, and where do they start? I think they start in Miami right now.
Most of the cruises start between Miami and San Juan.
Right. But we've had discussions with P&O to ensure that cabins are saved, and we're still finalizing those discussions.
Correct,
They're not
yes.
finalized at all in terms of how many cabins, who will sell. But certainly there was some sort of agreement, consensus on our people or people from the region being able to board from here.
Right. And I could tell you, maybe I shouldn't say it on live television. She may be watching or listening, or even to the replay. But I've always wanted to take my mother on a cruise. It's a perfect opportunity to do that as well, too.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we're going to take our first break, Minister, and then we're going to come back and speak a bit more about cruise and where we stand currently in Saint Kitts and Nevis in terms of tourism. And of course, we'll get into the OECS Council of Ministers, which you are now the chair of.
Okay.
Stay with us, viewers and listeners. We'll be right back with more In Focus.
If you haven't done it as yet, please do it today. Subscribe to our YouTube page at SKNIS Media for regular updates, live coverage, and even more information on your government. While you're at it, like, share, and interact with our Facebook and Instagram pages at SKNIS Media and SKNIS Info.
Thanks for staying with us. We're having a very interesting discussion with the Minister responsible for tourism, the Honourable Marsha Henderson, and the Chief Executive Officer of the Saint Kitts Tourism Authority, Ms. Kelly Fontenelle. Ms. Fontenelle, we'll start back with you. Now, in January, you were named the Caribbean Tourism Executive of the Year by Karen German.
Well deserved.
What does this recognition mean to you personally?
It's personally, it was an honor to receive that award. However, this is a team effort. It wasn't just me. I mean, first of all, our minister, very strategic. She, we lead in the direction she tells us to go. So having her as the head of our entire tourism, this is crucial. This is really important. However, the SKTA team, the Ministry of Tourism, our board of directors, they all play a role in where we are today. So it wasn't just me. It was the entire tourism administration.
Minister, you said it's well deserved.
Yes, I am fortunate. As Kelly says, I'm leading the team, but I'm fortunate to have an amazing team, honestly, supporting and carrying out the work here in the ministry. So when Kelly says, the CEO says, oh, it's the minister, it's really the leadership of the teams. And I say it all the time, the teams at the SKTA, the ministry, SCASPA, UDC, all the other agencies, Frigate Bay, amazing teams. Not just the leadership, but even every single staff, motivated, willing to carry their weight, understands the agenda, and shows up every time. So when we get these accolades, whether it's the CEO, the destination, or the minister, it's reflective, as the CEO says, of our teams. It's not just one person that could result in those things.
Not at all. And every single team member is very passionate. Yeah. And I mean, we are basically movers and shakers. And St. Kitts Kittitians are very loyal. They love the destination. And I learned something a couple of days ago. We're not going to be last.
That's all.
We're not going to be last. So that's our mentality. We're very, very focused, and we like to see that when we win, and when we win, we just continue winning.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And the destination also won an award as well too in the same Caribbean
Correct.
Journal for sustainable. Tell us a bit about that sustainable tourism destination.
I think Saint Kitts has been in the forefront of being a sustainable destination, and a lot of our advertising have been focused on that. And we literally, we how do you put that? We lead by, we don't just say it, we show it as well when it comes to sustainability. So, and I think that is what is being seen, and the government of Saint Kitts and Nevis have been very forefront, very focused on being the first sustainable island state, and we are leading by that as well, and we are not just talking about it, we're actually doing it.
Right. We understand in tourism we have a role to play in transitioning as well.
Right. And so, Mrs. Fontenelle, you were credited for having a data-driven style of approach to marketing. Can you tell us a bit about this style and what makes it different from other strategies by similar agencies across the region? Of course, Saint Kitts and Nevis is a very competitive market because the Caribbean, all of us offer almost the same thing.
Well, you know, data is key, because I believe if you cannot measure it, you cannot manage it. And that's it. If you cannot measure what you're doing, you can't manage it because you don't know what's happening. So we use data to tell us where people are intending to travel. We use data to see where people have traveled and why, and we use all of that in our marketing. And this is this is our main, this is very strategic. This is what we're doing. We're looking to see where people want to go. We listen to trends. We have every single week, we get the travel trends of what's new, what's hot, and we create our advertising around that. So we need to know what people are looking for. We don't just sit down in the office and decide, okay, let's do this. No, we don't do that. We travel out to see what's happening in the market. We look to see what our competitors are doing. We just started our travel advisor board recently, and that's all very, very strategic for us to know what's happening out there in the world. And then we curtail our advertising towards that. So if we look in around, when we see that art is a big thing now, or sustainable travel is where we're going, we look to see where those sustainable travelers have been and why they have been in this direction, and we use that in our focus in marketing.
You just mentioned the Travel Advisor Board. It was announced last month that the board was being formed. What led to the formation of the board?
We felt that we needed eyes, and we needed more eyes and ears on the ground, because our travel advisor board is made up of 7 travel agents: the UK, Canada, US, and also the Caribbean. So we have representatives from all of those areas. And what those travel advisors are, they're the ones who sell to the public. And they just don't sell St. Kitts, they sell the world. So they're letting us know what's going on in those markets where we are not currently, because those are the people that the visitors go to book their travel. So they can tell us what we should change, how we should change it. You know, they could tell us that, you know what, Italy is trending because of ABC. If you change a word, or if you do this in your advertising, that might help. Now we went to those, we were able to speak to those agents because they're in the market. How we chose them, we sent out a press release stating that we'll be creating this board, have a list of questions, and we had agents to literally apply. So we had hundreds of agents who applied to be on the advisor board because they wanted to help or learn more about St. Kitts. We were very strategic in how we chose. We chose those agents who are, everyone has a very strong niche. There's one who's strong in dive, romance travel, culinary travel, so we chose them because of our pillars. So that would work better, that would work perfectly for us. And we chose in our source market as well. I know I saw sometime like we chose nobody from St. Kitts. And we couldn't choose somebody from St. Kitts because we want the people out there who were selling to come to St. Kitts. And that's why there was nobody from St. Kitts on the board.
Which is an issue I think sometimes we haven't understood that what we sell, we don't sell on the ground. So we sell outside of Saint Kitts.
Correct.
So it's not something, we don't market Saint Kitts in Saint Kitts. What we do in Saint Kitts is we work with the stakeholders to make sure that the product is solid. So we can meet with taximen, hoteliers, restaurants. We work with refining the product.
So that when we market what we market and you come to the destination, you get that experience. So if we tell you that when you visit St. Kitts, you meet a taxi driver who's in uniform, when you come to the destination,
knowledgeable,
you get that.
Yes.
Exactly, you get that. So our advisor board is basically an extension of our sales team.
Yes.
So they help us sell the destination, and they will be one of those who, when the consumer comes to them, they will recommend St. Kitts first because they're on our board and they want to see our numbers increase. So this was the decision behind having that board to help us. And they kind of just volunteering because they love the destination, they love what they do. And it also helps us strengthen our relationship with travel advisors. Because travel advisors, we sell a lot to the consumer, what you call direct booking. So you would go and buy one vacation online, you'll buy that one. A travel advisor will sell 12 because they sell to numerous people. You just buy your own. So we have to have both. We have to have you buying your own, also the travel advisor selling more than one for us. So we have to have that relationship with them. And it strengthens where St. Kitts is, put us on the global stage, and keep us there as well.
What benefits do these travel advisors, do they enjoy any benefits?
Well, they will have to come to the destination. Some of them have been, but one of the benefits is that coming to the island. And it also helps them sell more because St. Kitts is an island that's not well known. We're not a Jamaica or, we are not that well known. So it gives them the opportunity to sell more St. Kitts because St. Kitts also is a destination that has a lot to offer that people are not aware of, even the travel agents. They're not aware that there is so much to do on the island. So it gives them more business as well.
And I think the application process, Minister, was, as we speak about being strategic, really it would have more or less withered out the pool because, of course, you have to be interested. You have to, I wouldn't necessarily want to have a stake in it, but of course, they have to have that interest. They would want to see the destination succeed. And if I'm not interested, I wouldn't apply.
Correct. Exactly. And then when we were able to filter, although most of who we received were quite good, they were very good. But we looked at their social media presence because we want them to market St. Kitts on the social media. We look at the volume. We want to see how much business they've sold. We look at where they've sold, how familiar they are with the Caribbean. So all of that were part of the process, and also to work with our teams in the market. So they, all of those who were chosen, the team in the market are very comfortable working with them as well, because that too is quite important.
Let's take a look at the industry now, where we're at. Of course, we're in the second month of 2026, February. We're midway.
I know, it's all, next week it's over.
Next week is the best month.
Well, it depends on who you speak to, of course. I'm sure there's some persons in some other 11 months who disagree. However, there's been some time to reflect on the performance of the industry last year. And can you tell us a bit about the trends that stand out?
Last year, we had a 6.5% increase, and we were hoping for more. However, there was, we had the closure of the federal government, we had bad weather, but we ended the year with a 6.5% increase. Our first quarter last year, we had.
You mean in overall tourism?
Overall, yes, okay. Yes, still over arrivals, yes. Our first quarter, actually, we had a 15% increase compared to the year before. And I know we are a winter market, so that that helps. However, it was a great increase from the year before, which shows that we are continuously growing.
Okay, and so can you break it down a bit? I imagine, of course, when it comes to air arrivals and stayover visitors, that's one thing, but cruise arrivals as well too, and include the number of ship calls, the number of passengers. Again, I appreciate, it's still early, but is there anything there that you can share other than what you would have done already in terms of the overall 6.5%?
For air arrivals, that was cruise. our cruise season ends in, is it April? Is it ends in April?
Well, yes, but we do have some.
The traditional,
Yes.
but we'll have cruise ships throughout the year actually. And our projection was for over about 1 million. And we would know we had 443 calls within the season, which is more than last year as well. And we're looking to reach our over 1 million again for this, well, when the season ends.
And we're well on the way.
We're well on the way for that, yes.
Well, outside of the volume, we're also looking at spend, because some persons are saying that, and mischievous persons, I just wanted to add that part, that people ain't spending any money.
No, it is.
So even though the ships are coming, people are not spending. Now, we have the data to show that we have actually increased the spend per passenger. And we've been saying to our stakeholders, outside of the volume, look at the spend. Look to see what visitors are looking for. Because if you're selling fried chicken and I come by your shop and I don't want fried chicken, I want fried fish, I'm not buying your fried chicken. So you must then go in your shop and put in a fried fish for me to buy your fried fish. So I've been saying to the stakeholders, we need to look at our offerings, look at the demographics, because I think the focus is still on the Carnival ship and what they looked for, the partying type. We're having a lot of more European brands, German ships, or you hear the taxi drivers saying, oh, the Germans ain't spending any money. They have money to spend, but they know what they want to spend it on. And in the ministry, our job is to work with you, to look at your offerings, look to see if you need to be pivoting, look to see if you need to go back to the drawing board. Some of them are adventure seekers. They're not necessarily party lovers. They're adventure seekers. So they would want to bungee jump, they would want to zip line. You need to look to create the product. Look for a good tour that caters to the visitor. So people may not spend if you don't have what they're looking for. Come and meet with us in the ministry. We have regular dialogue. Let's see what we're offering. Let's see if it's what they're looking for. And I've been saying that. And we offer sessions. We help with creating tours. We sat with a number of tour operators and actually helped to write the tours and sell them directly to the cruise lines. We helped with providing insurance, which is another opportunity that gets you to the cruise lines, and even to the hotels. So it's not about whether people are spending. It's whether what we are offering is what they want. Because the data has shown, I've said it here before, in the BREA studies, that we've managed to increase the spend per passenger, which means that people are spending, but they're spending on what they want. And you can't tell people what to spend on.
Correct.
So,
and to add to the minister, also, the number of passengers who literally come off the ship is a lot more than any other destination. So one of the things our stakeholders have to understand, we have to show what's unique in Saint Kitts, what you cannot get in the other destinations. Because if the cruise line visited Barbados, St. Lucia, they get the same purse, they will not shop here, because all you do is just slap the name on it. Yeah. So they have to show what is unique, what you can only find in Saint Kitts, from the authenticity.
And we've been saying that to them, authentically Kittitian.
And we have so much of that. There is a lot in Saint Kitts that's not in other destinations, and we're afraid to move and to show that. There is a lot to do on the island.
Beyond carrying you for an island tour.
Yes.
Beyond carrying you at Brimstone Hill. And Brimstone Hill is gorgeous, don't get me wrong, but stakeholders need to collaborate. When you come off, you could get some freshly squeezed cane juice or some sauce up, something authentic stuff, And
people will pay more for value. If you tell them, they will pay more for value if you show them what the value is. If you show them what the difference is, that you will not get that in
any other destination. And so we're asking our stakeholders to be innovative. It's not easy just get a taxi bus or a tour bus and pick up passengers. It's more than that.
It's more. And in the age of AI, where you can track trends from persons who are traveling from the different destinations, because of course the ministry, I'm not sure if it's the Ministry or Tourism Authority now, but the cruise ships list, it's published every month.
Yes.
So you can see which ship is coming in port.
Correct.
You'll be able to identify where the ship leaves from. You'll be able to suggest, well, it's more likely if it leaves from, it's going to have more Germans, or more persons who are Latino, or whatever. And so you just find out what the trends are for that, those persons. Like, and AI can put it in a whole chart. And
yes, it's so true. So our stakeholders, especially our taxi drivers, have to become business persons and not just taxi drivers. They have to become business owners and not just driving a taxi.
Is that a difficult pivot for them? Because of course some of them are a bit more
No, I don't think so. I do not think so. I mean, a taxi picks up a passenger. You welcome them with a cold towel or, you know, a bottle of water. That's already putting you one step above everybody else.
And like celebrities down there, they have a different set of passengers. High end.
Correct.
And they've been telling us what their passengers, just what the CEO said, they want something that's different, something that's, you know, on a smaller scale. So they want tours that appeal to their demographics. Otherwise, the visitors are going to come and stay on the boats, and that's a problem for the cruise lines too. Then they don't need to be coming here.
Right.
They want them to get off the boat and experience the destination.
They want smaller tours, culinary tours, things that allow them to be a part of the experience, experiential, you know, tours. Not just go and see, this is where Black Rocks is. More than that you feel a part of it.
And also not rushing them because you want to go pick up the next bunch of people. Again, if you have that group of people and you show them so much, they'll pay more for that.
Right.
They'll definitely pay more for that.
Reenactment of Bloody Point.
Yes,
Something like that.
Those things.
Maybe I should quit my job and start. But in any case, let me move on, Minister, and speak to us a bit about, Ms. Fontenelle, I'll come to you as well, to the strategies, of course, because you're responsible for marketing the destination, your agencies. Talk to us a bit about some of the strategies that you're using now, anything in the upcoming pipeline. I know, of course, that there's Music Festival and Restaurant Week that is coming. You recently traveled to South Florida. Tell us a bit about some of the upcoming engagements and the strategies that you're using to bring persons to Saint Kitts.
So one of our strategies is that we've been trying to create more visibility for the destination. So more visibility. So you'll go to we've been marketing in major airports like Miami International, Delta Airport. We've been marketing in the airport because we're travelers. The travelers are in the airport. We've been marketing in the lounges, the airline lounges. Who are frequent travelers, they are in the lounges. So we've been doing a lot of out of home. We've also been doing a lot of sponsorship of activities. Like in August, we'll be hosting the American Society of Travel Agents, which is the U.S. Organization for travel agents to be member. They have over 20,000 travel agents. So we'll be hosting that in August in Saint Kitts. This is the first destination outside of where Sandals is. And we're very happy about that because it's a small island. We are not all inclusive, and we're excited because all of those over 200 agents will be coming in to learn more and experiencing the island and learn more about the destination. So we've been doing a lot of advertising, and we're also doing some niche targeting. We do generic, evergreen. However, we're targeting those who love the food, those who love culture. So we'll be doing some type of targeting as well. Music festival. No, I'm going to go to Restaurant Week. So Restaurant Week, this is our 10th anniversary. So we may just do Restaurant Month. Yes. So we may just do Restaurant Month. So I've been telling the minister from the time I came here, the food in Saint Kitts is out of this world.
And we had some guests yesterday. We took them to Brimstone Hill for lunch. And they were amazed.
The food.
At Gibraltar?
Yes, I haven't been, but they gave glowing commendations for
the food in Saint Kitts. No matter where you go, mom and pop on the street side, the food is amazing, and we have to put our food on the global stage. Correct. So we've started doing this. Last year was the first time we attended the South Beach Food and Wine Festival in South Beach, and the team there they raved about the Johnny Cakes and saltfish. People came back for more.
It's making me hungry now.
So there it is, yes. So this weekend we're back again.
20th and 26th.
Yes, so this weekend they're back again. I'm doing this. We're also doing a food festival in Charleston, and we're doing something again in June. So we're really trying to push our culinary offerings for the destination. And as you said, I was in South Florida a couple of days ago, and American Airlines is our hub. We have daily service out of that market, and we want to increase our arrivals from that market as well, because it's a short flight. So week after, the first week of March, will be Saint Kitts Week on NBC6. So throughout the week, there'll be something Kittitian, an interview or promotion for the destination. In the UK, we had a partnership with Cole Palmer, because he was here last year. So that's continuing on. So we literally have our advertising in the outer net. In the UK, the outer net is it's like almost a mini Times Square in the UK, where they have shows. And so we have our big advertising at the outer net. When you get there, St. Kitts on the big screen with Cole Palmer. And we also have a landing page that will take people to that page so they can buy, a St. Kitts vacation. So again, it's visibility, because the more you see, you get like, where is this island? And one of the things we've been doing is, when we promote St. Kitts, is the why St. Kitts, the why, just not come to St. Kitts, why. So all of our ads has St. Kitts, how to get there, where to stay. So we give you everything in one kit and caboodle.
And the early release of the Saint Kitts Music Festival, I imagine that would help as well?
Yes, that's the intention. It's not as early as we wanted it to be, but nonetheless, it's helped, because even before, we were doing hotel visits in December. And the hotels were telling us that June is already full.
Sold out for music festival.
Yes, June was already full, and this was even before we announced. So I think the music festival has just made a name for itself, and even the airlines, when we met with JetBlue, they were like, "What's happening in St. Kitts? In June, we wish this could be every month,
every weekend." We want that week every week in the entire year.
Yes, so the music festival is accomplishing what it was created to do. And so we will continue to use the festival as a promotional tool, marketing tool for the destination as well.
Ms. Fontenelle mentioned in terms of getting more persons from the United States. Now, of course, as we said earlier, that you have the chairmanship of the OECS Council of Ministers of Tourism.
Yes, I'm humbled.
But before I get to that line of question, I have to ask about geopolitics, because, of course, we've seen, as we speak about trends, we've seen that there are some persons who are traveling less to the United States from different destinations. I'm not going to necessarily go into terms of countries, but is that concern, and of course with the boat strikes in the region as well too, is that likely to have an impact on tourism, not just in the region here, but also in Saint Kitts and Nevis?
Right. So most of the destinations have the U.S. as a big source market. For us, is our biggest. So it's a concern with all the geopolitical tension. We have not had any real issues other than the closure of our airspace. About a few weeks ago, we all remember.
January 3rd.
January 3rd, to be exact. Other than that, we have not had any major issues. But as a destination and as a region, we have been looking at it and paying close attention to it, of course, and making sure that we can pivot if we need to. So as a strategy, we're looking at other source markets, which includes a lot of things like increasing airlift from these spaces, visibility, as the CEO spoke about, in these places. So we have, it's not really a plan B, but it's a part of the overall strategic plan.
But just to add to ministers, we pivot into, we emerging markets like LATAM. Even I was on a webinar this morning with Chinese arrivals. So, but also the Caribbean. So we at SKTA have looked at the Caribbean as one of our source markets, and our numbers have increased because we've additional airlift with inter-Caribbean from San Juan, we're having additional Barbados. So we have a lot of airlift out of the Caribbean, and also we've increased our marketing. So now we have partnership with Sunrise, partnership with inter-Caribbean, partnership with Winner in the Caribbean, and we'll be marketing just like we do in North America and the UK. We have a sales team. Well, sales team. We'll be visiting the Caribbean to promote more. We have advertising in Puerto Rico, in Barbados, we have advertising in those destinations, and we'll be heavily marketing because we have the airlift, so we have to get the people there. And not just for our events have almost taken care of themselves. So we need to know where the shoulder periods and let them know why. Because you could be from a Caribbean island and come on vacation in Saint Kitts, because even though we're Caribbean, we have something different. So we'll be educating our travelers of why Saint Kitts.
And interestingly, in our OECS meetings last week, we looked at Africa. I know the Prime Minister has been talking a lot about that, and I didn't even initiate the conversation. It was my colleagues and the Commission, of course, the OECS Commission, who, said that's one of the markets we need to be looking at. And when we discussed it, we were overwhelmed and excited that that is something we should be doing.
It's very viable.
So it's something you're going to be hearing about from a regional perspective, of course. And once we finalize nationally, that's another market we're looking at.
Okay, I wanted to also add our 4 Islands One Escape, another an initiative we did because we see that the region. So 4 Islands One Escape, with Makana Ferry, and we have a travel agent out of Trinidad who's been selling, and he's been selling, and most of the passengers so far have been Americans, which is but it's actually working. So we have in the region, it's a very viable market.
Okay, Minister, in light of your recent statement at the 9th Council of Ministers from the OECS meeting that was here in Saint Kitts, you mentioned that no member state can afford to operate in isolation. What practical steps can be taken to strengthen regional collaboration?
It's a topic that we talk about a lot. The ultimate thing for me, it's leadership. Leadership and the political will. We've been doing a lot with CARICOM and OECS, but to strengthen regional collaboration, it starts with leadership. Not leadership of the OECS, but leadership within the respective member states. We must be willing and intentional about collaborating. We must not just talk, but we must act. We must implement policies collectively and not individually. Collectively, that serves the region, that serves our people. We must introduce initiatives not just serves us as politicians domestically, but regionally as well. And like I said, it must be intention, sober and intentional leadership.
And of course, the Prime Minister, the Honourable Dr. Terence Drew, is the current chair of CARICOM.
Right.
Of course, Saint Kitts and Nevis is preparing to host the 50th CARICOM Heads of Government meeting.
Yes.
And the Prime Minister himself has been going to, actually, he's currently meeting, I believe, with several leaders as well between today and tomorrow. And he's been credited, for his leadership style and trying to get everyone to meet them to understand what their issues are before the entire heads group comes together. So certainly, as you mentioned, when it comes to leadership, that type of leadership that the Prime Minister is demonstrating within the region that has garnered so much attention and so much commendation from his efforts, that certainly is going to be important in helping to address the issues head on, because of course, as I mentioned, there must be political will in order to get everything done. And an important part of that is the intra-island travel.
Right.
Yes.
Since I was a child, I've heard about maybe a ferry, a regional ferry.
Yes.
Of course, looking at the tourism page this morning, I saw that there was some promotion of airfares from BVI. No, not BVI, sorry, Barbados, BGI.
Yes.
BGI, Barbados.
Dominica, that highlighting that there are reasonable fares that you can travel week Tuesday, I think.
Travel Tuesday. Every Tuesday we go out and source and put out this.
So where we, Minister, as you speak about leadership, as a chairman, where are we in pushing for possibly having cheaper rates? And I think a lot of it is that they say the taxes are too high. While tickets are at one point, the taxes are too high among member states.
So that's something we discussed regionally as OECS and as for the Caribbean Tourism Organization. That was one of the topics we had when we were in Miami in December. But it means that every member state must be willing to adjust their taxes. So it means Saint Kitts, Dominica, and while there's a willingness, mind you, I'm not saying there's not a willingness, but the assessments must be done to see how it affects each member state, because while we are willing to do it, the assessments still need to be done, because for example, one member said we will lose substantial revenue that we rely on if we take this step. So we need to sit together, see how we can help each other, because if that step is taken by one member state, then there must be some other step, correlating step, that helps with loss of revenue if that step is taken. So we are addressing it. We discussed it when we met as OECS last week, and I remember we have our Council of Ministers meeting for the region, not just OECS, in Bermuda next week. And I know that's where we left off in December. So when the Council of Ministers meet again, I'm sure that will come up again. We had some action items coming out of that meeting in terms of what we need to be doing individually. We didn't have enough time, of course. That was just December. We need to do assessments, financial assessments that require in-depth study to make sure that these decisions don't harm member states, but actually benefit us. Yes, we want to make sure that travel is more affordable, but we also need to make sure that there's no negative, impact as a result of these decisions taken as well.
And just to add to the minister, as you said that, they will lose significant revenue if they remove the taxes. So as you said, studies needed to show where, because you can get the volume and that could make up for the revenue that could have been lost through, the taxes. So again, studies definitely needed to assess all of that for each destination.
Yeah, that's actually the point I was about to raise, because if you're going to have increased persons coming in, then they have to set hotels that will generate economic activity. They have to move about. They pay taxes, because there's some countries that have not VAT, what do you call it again, when you pay on it, it's VAT, but there's also another one too, where when you buy everything, consumption tax basically. Yeah, and so those things that would help to add to the pot as well, because it's, you're enlarging in your tax base now.
Correct.
Right, but that's a whole economic discussion.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we have just a few minutes left, so I'll go to two quick things, because as we speak about sustainability, the Prime Minister, of course, has continued to raise the alarm bell in Saint Kitts and Nevis and across the region about the impact of climate change and how it is damaging Saint Kitts and Nevis and other small island states. So we're losing coastlines, we see the extreme weather patterns, we see the lack of water that we have, which forced the government to turn to desal. Who ever thought about that when we were younger?
I know. It wasn't an issue then, we didn't have those challenges. We didn't have a growing population. We didn't have a growing tourism industry that drains our resources. We didn't have a lot of things.
So what role does climate resilience play in shaping the OECS tourism agenda?
For us, we actually introduced the members, the Council of Ministers, in our meeting in St. Vincent last March, approved and ratified the Common Tourism Sustainable Plan. It's called CSTP, with the Common Tourism Sustainable Plan. We ratified it as members, and our permanent secretaries met, I think, about two weeks ago in Grenada in terms of implementation. So we are mindful of the role that climate sustainability on a whole plays, and what the intention of the plan is to make sure that as destinations, as we continue to develop, we make sure we have policies, harmonized policies across the region that addresses those issues. For example, we've agreed as members that every tourism project must be subjected before it starts to an environmental impact assessment. Those things can help with resilience, ultimately, not just for the project, but for the destination. And there are a number of initiatives and policies that we want to introduce and ratify under the common plan that we have as a region, to make sure that we are paying attention to the issues of sustainability, because they can only make us more resilient as destinations.
And so, Ms. Fontenelle, I'll come to you, and Minister, I'd like you to chime in as well, as this is the final question from me, unless you have any final comments. But where do you envision the tourism product here in St. Kitts, a sustainable St. Kitts and Nevis, of course, as we are on that march to becoming a sustainable island state? Where do you imagine that would be in the next 5 years, and how do you measure that success?
I think in 5 years, we no longer will be saying that St. Kitts will be the first destination to have arrived at a sustainable island state. I think talking will be done and we'll be like, yes, we made it. Because we've been pivoting to this and we have everything in place. So in 5 years,
Yes.
we've been talking to our hotels, so all of our hotels are now green, green hotels. So by then, hopefully, all of our hotels would have gotten that certification, and that's a big thing for the tourism product.
Right. So construction of new hotels, even the practices within the industry, small steps.
Yes.
For example, the ban on single-use plastic. We do plastic free July within the ministry, where we encourage our stakeholders as well, to have zero plastic whether in the use of their operations or wherever. The biggest thing for us is the energy transition, which is a national thing too, and it definitely translates into tourism at our ports, the airports, whatever type of fuel we use, or just energy transition on a whole is going to be a game changer for us in tourism. The sustainable practices, those are going to be like cultural changes that the industry or people, visitors, we just change how we do things. But to make the industry more resilient, the energy transition and our reliance on fossil fuel at our ports, our emissions at the airports, seaports, cruise ships, generally that's going
That would
to
have been in place by then.
the game changer.
Because of course the ECCB governor, he made a comparison once on the program when he spoke about how much it costs the hotels to pay electricity to the agency responsible, and in Mexico it was cents. In the region it was dollars. That makes a big difference in the cost of hotel.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's small changes, little changes that gets us to have the big thing done.
Right. Kelly Fontenelle, CEO of the Saint Kitts Tourism Authority, Minister of Tourism, the Honourable Marsha Henderson. We're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us on InFocus. Yes, 1 hour already.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ian. It's always a pleasure being here.
Yes, absolutely. And we'd like to thank you, viewers and listeners, for staying with us for this edition of InFocus. We trust that you will join us next week. Correction. Next week, as I mentioned, we'll be hosting the CARICOM Heads of Government. So there will be no InFocus next week, but the week after, be sure to join us again at the same place at the same time. I'm Ian Richards. So long.
Join us every Wednesday for InFocus, a weekly talk show produced by the Saint Kitts and Nevis Information Service, where we provide exclusives with key persons within the government and discuss pertinent, relevant, and interesting matters that affect us all. Tune in every Wednesday, live on ZIZ Radio, and streamed live on Facebook at SKNIS Media and ZIZ Online. InFocus, your government, your business.